city of Denver, the state of Colorado, you guys have been fucking amazing for the last 10
years. Let me start off with a Twitch feed this morning, and I got to get the whole name right. Mile High Hockey Lab.
The city of Denver, the state of Colorado, you guys have been fucking amazing for the last 10 years.
The series versus the Stars, a lot of people expect it to be the best series out of any series in the first round of the Stanley Cup playoff. All eyes from the hockey world are going to be on the Avalanche and the Dallas Stars for a myriad of reasons. You have the tiny threads of stories, Duchesne, Rantanen, history. You think of back-to-back Western Conference final losses, even though that seems like ancient history now. I think for Avalanche fans and the Avalanche front office, time to turn the tide. So not only do you have the personal stories inside the series, possible return of your captain, you have two of the top 5 teams in the National Hockey League overall in a first-round matchup. I think it's the marquee series in the first round of the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Welcome to the Mile High Hockey Lab.
Hello and welcome to the Mile High Hockey Lab, this playoff edition of the Mile High Hockey Lab, lab number 102. I am Adrian Hernandez. I am joined so far by Ezra Parter, Evan Liu, and Jackie K. And we are very, very excited to talk about the Colorado Avalanche. Maybe not as excited as we would have been had the Avalanche won in overtime last night, but nonetheless, we are still here to talk about the Avs and their first round series with the Dallas Stars. Ezra, Evan, Jackie, thank you so much for joining me. We have lots to touch on. We're going to talk about game 1. Yay. We're going to talk about game 2. Not so yay. And then we will look ahead at games 3 and 4 here at home, do our bold predictions, and we'll see how the rest of the show goes from there. But folks, thank you so much for joining. Please head on over to the website, milehighhockey.com. If you enjoy this programming, I promise you will enjoy the written material as well. We have opinion pieces. We have travel guides. We have game day threads, all of the things Avalanche that you might need in this playoff extravaganza. Mile High Hockey has you covered. Okay, let's drop the puck on today's episode 102. I'm going to start with our fearless leader, ladies first, Jackie K. First of all, Jackie, thank you for joining. And secondly, let's first talk about game 1. Did the outcome look worse in terms of the final score than the actual game when you watched it minute by minute?
I'd say yes and no. You look at the score 5-1. Well, it was 2-1 with 7 minutes to go. So I do think that part's misleading because it looks like a blowout and it definitely wasn't. I would say what made it more of a decisive win for the Avs was the analytics, and I think that that's going to play a big part in our discussion for Game 2. I know it's dangerous to really get into small sample size, game-by-game analytics, but I think you have to look at it in a playoff series when each game is so critical game-by-game. So I think that, like I said, I think it was more decisive when you look at that, and so it was a good win for them, even though it wasn't exactly a 5-1 win.
Yeah. Well, I noticed that Pete DeBoer in the post-game press conference, he talked about how he felt like that was one of the better games that his team had played in a long time, which to his credit, they hadn't won in 8 straight games. So, it's kind of only uphill from there. But I agree with you, Jackie. I think it was a little bit a little bit more indicative in terms of the final score than it felt like with that 2-1 left with like 7 minutes left. The Avs did kind of control things, and it was kind of just a matter of time. But Ezra, the big story for me in game one was Mackenzie Blackwood. Talk about how he performed in game one, his very first ever playoff game. And what was your most significant takeaway from game one?
Oh man, he was incredible. I mean, he made so many wonderful saves that not only stopped the puck, but then quickly turned around and turned into goals on the other end.
Yeah.
It was a really impressive showing from a guy who needed to prove that he could be a playoff performer. And I think we saw the best he has to offer, and it was excellent. We can't expect him to be that guy every game, but if he's close, man, looks good. It looks good in net right now. Yeah. I like it. My biggest takeaway, I'd say, really is like it is Blackwood. If he can be that guy, then it takes a lot of pressure off of everybody else. And in game two, he wasn't quite that guy, and the game was a lot closer. And that's a fairly obvious statement. When the goalie's not quite as good, the game's going to be a little closer. But I think everybody in front of him also didn't back him up in the way that he backed them up in game one. So that's frustrating. But the big takeaway is, man, when Mackenzie Blackwood is on, he's on.
Yeah, well, and to your credit, in terms of like the play in front of him in game two, as it compared to game one, we've seen a lot of Eric Johnson. We talked about that 6D at length, 6D at length before the series started. Evan, I want to send this one your way. What are your thoughts on EJ so far? I mean, we can talk about game two as well, but how did you specifically think he looked in game one? And do you think they continue to put number 6 in at that 6D position?
I mean, I haven't minded Eric Johnson. He completely screwed up my bold prediction that we'll get to later, but that's besides the point. He was at least I would say anyway, up until maybe the overtime winner last night, a calm, steady presence on the blue line. And that's something that I think can give the Avalanche some strengths, is that veteran presence, leadership. He was part of that 22 run. That's something that the Avalanche could always use more of, right? And I know there were concerns leading up to the start of the playoffs of whether he would slot in, because he's not the same guy that he used to be, not even a few years ago, right? He barely played this year. But I mean, sometimes comfort and familiarity is sometimes all you need. And I think that he's looked at least somewhat comfortable and is obviously familiar with wearing the burgundy and blue. So it's fine, I guess, for now. I still would probably like Malinsky in there, just because he's been the better of the two, I would say. But nonetheless, I mean, it shows that you at least have some options, which is nice for the Avalanche at this time of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. And Brandon, thank you for joining the program. We are joined by Brennan Vogt. I'm curious how you feel about EJ's performance. I know you love EJ. You're like me. You really fall for the personalities, and EJ has that personality. What are your thoughts on his performance so far? And tell me a little bit about Logan O'Connor as we kind of segue into game number 2. LOC had 5 points in his last 31 regular season games, but now he has 4 points in 2 playoff appearances so far this season. What's happening there?
He's a beast. That plain and simple. It's playoff. It's playoff mayor. That's all you have to say. But no, I think he's finally getting comfortable with his hips, and it took 82 games.
Yeah.
But with EJ, he had some moments in game 2 at least where he was holding the blue line late in the game, and gosh, I think it was in the third period where the Dallas kept trying to clear it, and he kept holding it in, and they just kept trying to clear it, and he kept holding it in, and you saw classic sparks of EJ there, and then he was utilizing things that he's even admitted that he's been taught by like Cale Makar and Bo Byram and everything like that, where he was just throwing the puck through and getting the shots on net. So I like that spark, but obviously he's slowed down compared to 22, like you guys have said, but And he played dozen games this year so far. So the legs have got to get back under him.
Mm-hmm.
And then LOC is just move him up to the first freaking line. They need some scoring.
They really do. And Jackie, I want to push this on as we move into the game 2 talks. Last night's overtime loss to the Dallas Stars. Really sick of saying that sentence. But they couldn't honor Logan O'Connor's tremendous performance. I mean, he had that unreal backhand goal on 2 chip passes, one from Logan O'Connor, and then I believe the second one was from Lehkonen, and somehow got enough of it with the backhand to put it over Ottinger's left side and into the top corner. What is it that you saw, at least in terms of the Dallas perspective, that gave them an edge and allowed them to find the success they did in game 2?
Well, I just think it's the playoffs, and everyone, if you're going to have success, everyone's going to have their moments. So I don't think it's like, oh, O'Connor finally found offense again. It's just his time to shine, like we've seen from others. So I would be a little cautious about, extrapolating that forward. It's like when you get it, and if it can win you a game, that's amazing. And you hope that all the lower line guys can have a moment, and then that's how you get consistent offense. But as far as like expecting it to repeat, I wouldn't.
Right.
There's a reason why O'Connor finished with 20 points this year.
Yeah. It's
kind of it's very, very sporadic. So as far as Dallas, I think they dumped the puck in a lot more than they did in game 1. And I think it finally started working. They were able to retrieve it. They were able to get traction. They were able to keep the puck away from the Avs. And so I think they played a patient game. And the Avs just completely gave up on offense after 2 periods. And were they trying to turtle, a.k.a. hold on in that 3rd period with the lead? Perhaps. But we know that the Avs play their best when they're always generating offense. Like for them, their best defense is when they're generating offense. And so I don't think it's a conscious strategy that they're just going to shell and prevent defense because it could even cost them the series. But I think they know better than that. But the thing is that I always get back to is the Avs have difficulty generating offense. And it seems silly, and they added all these pieces, and they have Makar and McKinnon. But that's what it keeps coming back to, is when this team struggles, it's because they have difficulty generating offense. They were terrible analytically last night. And I think what people look at when they hear, bad expected goals or bad analytics is bad defense. Like, you're giving up a lot. But the other part of it is bad offense when you're not generating any expected goals. And so this is what I say when they can't be down like 2 good forwards. Like Colton's 1, and if they were even down 1 more, like they will not be able to generate offense because you can't just Dallas and whoever else they're going to play, knock on wood, is too good at defending a couple players. You have to come at them with a full array of offense. And that's what I think is kind of their Achilles heel at this point, is it's just too difficult for them to get offense. They're not getting it from the second line. That goes all the way back to the Middlestat era. I think their second pair doesn't generate offense. I think that's been a problem all year. So these are sort of their, the underbelly where you can really get to them. And it's a matter of how do they protect that moving forward?
Yeah. I see exactly what you're talking about, because it's like, imagine last night's game without the contribution from the 4th line offensively. It's a much uglier outcome for the Avalanche. And we are talking about, how the Stars, the big guns, the top 2 lines, specifically that second line, didn't come through. And one of the things that I didn't put in the script, but I do want to hear from you, Ezra, is like who who's there? Where's Val Nichushkin and that X factorness in this Dallas series? And also, like, we saw some physicality kind of ramp up. Jackie talked about Dallas being more willing to chip and chase, and then they followed that up with a more willingness to sacrifice the body. And that did seem to shake the Avalanche at least a little bit in terms of coming out of their game in the third period. Do you expect more of that in game 3? And then, touch on Nichushkin.
I definitely expect more of that. That's Dallas's whole identity, and that's kind of why they lost game 1 so handily, is that they weren't able to get to that identity. They weren't able to play with the chippiness that they like to play. I mean, so I couldn't watch the game on time last night. I was watching it at like 2 a.m. and I'm like in bed with my fiance sleeping next to me, watching on TV. And when Jamie Benn drove through Mackenzie Blackwood to try to put a puck in, I was like, and I woke her up, and she's like, "What are you doing?" It's just, that's what they do. They are these like bullies that play physical, and it's worked for them for years. And the Avs have to match it, and specifically Val Nichushkin has to match it. He doesn't have to be throwing punches. He doesn't have to be throwing his body around, but he has to be a physically imposing presence because he's 6'4". He's a hulking dude. He's got to use his body. And I think in the past, in the playoffs, Mikko Rantanen was the guy who you could count on to do that. And weirdly for Dallas, he's not doing it, but whatever. We don't have to talk about him right now. But with him out of the picture and Necas in his place, Necas isn't going to play that way. But that second line, Nelson and Nichushkin have to be big bodies in front of the net, and they have to not just try to use their skill, which they have plenty of and should be trying to use, but they have to also use their physicality. Charlie Coyle's the only guy who I feel like is really doing it right now, and that's great. The fourth line, but I'm talking about skilled players. That's great, and you need that, but you have to have it from the second line. That group is not playing an engaged game right now. But I also want to tie this back to the EJ conversation, because I feel like Jackie said that the second pair is not generating a whole lot of offense, and it's been a problem for a long time. Totally agree. But with EJ, Lindgren, and Manson in the lineup, of course not, right? Like, it doesn't. None of those guys are good at that. Manson had a great game 1. I really liked him in game 1. I really didn't like him in game 2. I thought he was all over the place. That penalty kill goal, the Dallas goal where they scored, when he was like, he tried to chip somebody at the blue line and just face planted. It was like, what are you doing, man? So I think you have to get Malinsky into the lineup, because you just need a little bit more generation from the back end, and EJ's the guy who's got to sit. I liked EJ. I thought he was fine, but we need more than fine. Yeah,
I agree with you. And in terms of the physicality, like, you're right. It's come from a cast of characters on the roster, but I don't think it's been adopted by the whole roster. I mean, we saw Nathan McKinnon truck Jamie Benn, the satisfaction with that. Manson got a good piece of Rantanen, some satisfaction there too, but ultimately they lost the game. So anything that happened before the overtime goal by Dallas kind of doesn't matter to me. So other than, taking away what you can strategically and improving on it going into game 3. And I'm with you. Like, it would be nice to see young Sam Malinsky slot back into the lineup. I think a young guy like him is built to succeed or not in the playoffs. It's a coin flip with guys like that. But because of his offensive upside, I agree with you and Jackie. Maybe it's time for him to get back into the lineup. And when he does, let's hope that the press sheet we receive that has Sam Malinsky not scratched is correct. Evan, last night we got 2 different press sheets. The first one came out, and it was listed Miles Wood as a healthy scratch and Gabe Landeskog in the roster. And then we got confirmed reports from Mr. Kyle Keefe, who was in the stadium, who said, no, it's not looking, don't have anything to confirm, and then said, actually, yes, I can confirm Miles Wood is playing. We found out that Miles Wood was told he was going to play a couple days ago. So I guess, what were your range of emotions, first of all, when you got the first press sheet and then the second sheet? And then secondly, like, why the whole charade?
So much happened last night, man. Who knew that roster reports would just be the start of that drama? I remember talking with Brennan and Savvy, our other reporters, and just trying to figure out, like, so is this like actually happening? Right. Like, do we need to like mentally prepare ourselves? Like, what's going on here? And I think we know, at least for some time, that Landeskog was going to try. and at least go out there and warm up and do all those sorts of things. But you also then get that impression of he's not playing, like, because Miles Wood's out there too, like, so we just didn't know until you knew. So some sort of screw up happens in terms of releasing the wrong roster or whatever. I don't really know what happened with that. I don't know if it's Jared Bednar playing mind games up until puck drop. Like, who genuinely knows, right?
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, in a few episodes, like, if Landeskog is ready to go, you should send him out. Like, it would be awesome if they had a 2-0 lead coming home, and maybe it was Landeskog that scored the overtime winner. Maybe it would have been him,
or at least not
giving up not giving up the turnover. Exactly. Yeah. But whatever, it's in the past. You'll take the split home, but it's a lot of what could have been, I guess.
Yeah,
at least in my mind.
You play that game enough in the playoffs, and you'll lose your mind. Because we could have the same conversation about Nathan McKinnon fanning on a tremendous opportunity to take the lead late in the game when the Avalanche were up a man with the delayed penalty coming. But yeah, like, you can do the what could have been game, and it'll hurt you every single time in the playoffs unless you win a cup. So be careful, Evan. That's all I have to say to you in terms of that and your sanity. But Brennan, Evan touched on how you guys were scrambling. I think the whole Avalanche world was scrambling when we saw Landy come out for warmups. We saw him on the press sheet, the first one, not the second one. And then, of course, like I said, Wood was told that he was going to play either Sunday or Monday. So it was a foregone conclusion. But Jared Bednar said, quote, that Landy wanted to, end quote, go out there and do the warm-up and be a part of the room for the first time in a long time, but that he was never slated to play. My question is, and I don't want to do this, but I have to ask this question because it's my job. Was that a little bit of a distraction thing? Do you think it's like, just put the roster down on paper and let's go play hockey? Like, what was your whole takeaway from that?
Well, I think it was to get in the mind of Dallas, first off. But second off, I think it was multiple factors. I think, yes, Miles was told you were going to play, but he may have also been told you were going to play if Landy decides if he doesn't want to play.
Right. Which is crazy, though. If that's true, I know you're
don't give me that face, Ezra. Don't give me that face. You're giving me the stink face.
You think he doesn't want to play?
Well, no. Okay, I'll explain, but give me a second.
Okay.
So, like, I was sitting there and I was ready to go. I was getting ready to go on air with the Mile High Sports podcast and literally trying to confirm. Okay, Landy's going on. Okay, saw he got that Miles Wood got scratched. Go on, like, start going on air, refresh, and then Landy gets scratched. And it like, yeah, I literally almost like punched a baby, but
glad mine wasn't in the room.
Yeah, well, I'm just saying, but my thought is that yes, Miles Wood took the rushes and things like that, but also it was 80 degrees in Dallas with 47% humidity. Good. I think Landy may have gone out on that ice, took one step on that ice, and was just like, nope.
Yeah, I don't think that is too far away from the reality of the situation, because, I mean, I'm not saying that I think that Landy got to decide whether or not Wood played. I think ultimately, like, that was a foregone conclusion. I do, however, think that Landeskog went out there and was gonna skate, test things out, and maybe got some feedback that he didn't like, which I think is a story in and of itself, but it may just be as simple as the ice wasn't ideal conditions. The simple truth of the matter is he wasn't going to play.
Yeah,
I need one bad sheet of ice away from not playing in a game, then he's really far away from playing in a game.
Well, yeah, but like my point is like, Ezra,
which is a story.
Ezra, you've played on some really crummy ice, I'm sure.
Oh, yeah.
Especially being in California, because
Ball Arena has bad ice, so I don't know
exactly.
Especially this year.
Well, in comparison to what was on there last night, Ball Arena's better.
Sure. No, that ice looked terrible. I could tell Even
in
on my
overtime. In
small
overtime,
red
it looked
TV.
especially bad. It was
Yeah,
like, yikes.
Humidity is a factor when it comes to the actual condition of the ice. The higher
sure.
the humidity, the softer the ice it gets. The slushier it gets, the harder it is to keep control of the ice.
I.e. Lake Tahoe.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Well, that was also sun.
Sun, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that was
but
actively
and
melting.
I've talked to multiple like Zamboni drivers, ice techs, and things like that. Just being around the rink and playing myself, and that's why they always go for hard ice, even though I hate hard ice. You want like a kind of in between.
Yeah.
And
It's always about the Goldilocks zone, right? That's
yeah,
what it's all about.
exactly. But hard ice is
Mm.
like too hard to like dig in. But soft ice, you
Will
just
break
sink.
your legs.
Yeah,
exactly.
exactly. Like you watched Miko try to turn the corner, was late in the third, and he just collapsed.
Yep.
Miko being Miko.
Moose.
Yeah, just
well, Jackie,
those legs just
yeah, Jackie, I'm curious of how you saw the Landeskog thing, because you were a proponent before game one that if he's good to go, you play him. And if he's good to go, you take him off injured reserve and you send him out for the warm-up skate, and then he plays. But the last part is the part that didn't happen. What did you see?
Okay. Well, I don't think anything with Landy is last minute decisions. I think everything about his return to play is extremely planned. And I think if there's any reason why he made it through 2 AHL games back to back and he hasn't played yet, is because they're following a schedule. Maybe they have a date circled. Maybe it's tomorrow. Maybe it's another day, and they're working towards that. There was no way that they were truly thinking about him playing last night. I don't believe that for a second. Everything has been regimented, planned, pre-planned, and if they need to take him off injured reserve to get him in warm-up, that's fine. It's part of the process. I get it. The problem I have is it was intentionally misleading.
Yep.
Because they put Taze out there without an A on his sweater, which would indicate
100%.
Landy was going to play. And then Landy doesn't play and he puts a different sweater on. So to me, it has nothing to do with the roster sheet. Like, was it right? Was it wrong? Or whatever. Like, if you're at that point, you are misleading. So there's no reading the tea leaves here. That's what you did. And so then the question is, why? Is it a Dallas thing? I mean, if Pete DeBoer really cares about what happens on the Avs third line in warm up, then hey, he put in the guy that won the game for Dallas. So backfire, karma. I really don't think so. I think the only thing that would matter to him is like a McKinnon or a Makar not playing. I think that's what he would care about in a warm-up.
Totally.
Not these other guys. Let's be real here. I know people love the gamesmanship. It wasn't gamesmanship. It was just intentionally trolling and misleading your fan base is what it was. It preyed on the emotions. It got everybody excited. And sure, maybe it's going to happen tomorrow for real. It's just 48 hours. No big deal. But the reaction that people had, the excitement, what you did to your fans, and the people reporting on your team is just so par for the course that they are so tone deaf about how their actions impact their own fan base.
I tend to agree with that. I was a little bit frustrated, not because I need to know what they're going to do, but just don't show these tea leaves. Yeah. And my overarching thing is like, where my passion for this game comes from is a deep rooted passion for competition. And I'm like old school in terms of competition, or at least I like to think I am. And at the end of the day, you have to put the puck on the ice and face the team in front of you and beat them. And these little mind games and this like jostling in terms of the Landeskog thing, it feels like it's taking attention from a strategic standpoint where maybe it shouldn't. I talked about at length in our last episode about how you only have this card to play once and how you should think about doing it and doing it the right way. Right now, I'm at the point where it's like, who gives a shit about this card that you have to play? You have to win the game. And who you put on the press sheet the first press sheet and who you put on the second press sheet is not going to dictate the outcome. And if you think it does, you're looking at the wrong things. So for me, along the lines too of misleading your fan base is you're kind of like playing with your food. Like, just put the puck down and let's play hockey. At the end of the day, you got to be better than the Dallas Stars, no matter who's on that sheet. And last night they weren't. Period. Point blank. Period. They had a 1-goal lead heading into the third period, and we all know about those third period leads and how they squandered them late in the season. We were all told, no, it's okay. They can flip the switch and they can seal the deal when it matters the most in the playoffs. Well, it mattered a lot last night, and they were unable to do it. So I know it's a great outcome in the zoomed out scope where it's like, yeah, they split in Dallas. That's a great outcome. They have home ice advantage with 5 games left. And we might see Landeskog tomorrow at home, which will be its own wonderful moment. My question to you, Evan, is when will you believe the Colorado Avalanche that Gabe Landeskog is actually playing? Will it be when he's on the bench and the puck drops? Are we then allowed to send out our welcome back graphics?
I do have an answer for this, but I'll let Evan go first.
Yeah.
I do have my own answer for it.
I feel like the answer would be, man, I guess when he's announced, like, I don't know. Like, I was gonna say the roster report if his name is bolded, but we went through that last night. I'm not gonna say that.
Well, it's technically his name was never bolded.
It was italicized.
And even then, that doesn't mean anything.
Sure,
well,
but
I say bolded. I say bolded because then that means he's the starting lineup. But
yeah,
like, at that point, like, I would just wait till he's announced, like, until Alan Roach says his name, like,
until he's standing there for the national anthem.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
which will be an awesome moment whenever it happens. Hopefully, it does happen tomorrow night. But yeah, but like, even then, he could still say, "Never mind, I'm out of here. See you down the tunnel."
Yeah. Give me that jersey with nothing on it again, and here you go, Taser. Here's that A back. Jackie, was your answer is it
No.
the anthem?
No.
Okay.
For me, Landeskog is back when he is a full participant at day 1 of training camp.
Yeah.
That's when it's real.
Yeah.
Because it's fantastic if he plays, which you think he's going to at this point. He's off injured reserve. But the thing is, we don't know how it's going to go.
Mm-hmm.
We can assume, but we don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, and I've been saying this is why it's dangerous to make it such a spectacle. And then, of course, they just made it even more of a spectacle yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a spectacle if not everything goes as expected from this point forward. But so for me, Landeskog is back when he is at training camp, no restrictions, day 1. That's when it's real.
Okay.
Right now, it's not real for me. For him as a human, and his comeback and everything is amazing, and that part's real. But the Landy is a fully functional member of the Colorado Avalanche is not real right now.
That's fair from your point of view and in the way you put it. Ezra, I'm curious of your reaction to that. And based on Jackie kind of putting it on the table that the Landeskog, I guess, experiment, for lack of a better term, it could potentially backfire. Like, where do you stand on it being a distraction versus it being a propellant? And are you worried or more excited?
Yeah, I mean, I'm more excited. I'm ever an optimist. The question of when you believe Landy's back or not, I believe he's back now. He's going to play tomorrow. It's going to happen. This has been the plan all along. Mm-hmm. The weird gamesmanship thing, whatever. I don't have a problem with it. Let Dallas think Landeskog's coming back. I don't know. I don't like. For me, I'm like, what possible benefit would there be to troll the fans in some way? Like, how could they possibly think
none
that that's a thing to do? So
they don't think that their actions impact the fans.
Yeah, I don't think they did it like
if they
consciously.
were doing it, it was for Dallas. But I mean, let's get real.
Yeah,
the impact was their fans and the people covering their team. No, do I think they woke up and was like, it'd be fun? I think we could really piss off our fans. No, I don't think they intend to do that. But they don't understand. They're tone deaf. They don't get it. They don't get how their actions impact their fan base.
Yeah, I think it's more they don't care.
Well, that too.
I don't have a problem. I don't have a problem with that. Like the point is to try to win the games. If they think it gives them an advantage, great. Did it give them an advantage? No, but they thought it did. Go for it. I don't have a problem with that. But as far as the whole like, Landy's back. Like he is. That is a thing. Is he back forever? I don't know. We don't know that. But he's back. It happened.
I mean, I'm not saying don't enjoy it. Like obviously, it's going to be cool to see him play, but to me, there's the difference. There's the human side and the team side. Yeah. And for me, I can't. There's two different sides of it, like I said.
Yeah.
And for me, I'm always thinking of, I'm sorry, the future. That's just the way I am. And I'm not just going to be like, this team and this run is just the most wonderful thing, and I'm going to ignore everything else. If other people do, that's cool. Like, I get it. Live in the moment. This is what you have. Tomorrow's not guaranteed and all this and that. If that's your perspective, I get it. It's not mine. So to me, what happens tomorrow, like I said, for him as a human is amazing and incredible. But as far as the Colorado Avalanche, I'm not.
We won't know. We won't know until he plays. Yeah, I hear you.
From my perspective, it's like it's all about this championship chase, because ultimately I don't remember the season from 2009. You know, I remember 2022.
Yeah.
So,
but it has to mean something. And this team doesn't mean anything to me. But it doesn't mean anything to me.
Just you personally. I get it. But you gotta understand too, Jackie, like your perspective is a unique one.
It might be. Maybe nobody agrees with me out there. That's
I don't think nobody agrees with you, but I think like the way you look at the game and the way you cover this team in particular, it lenses your focus in a way that I think does lend you to be exactly where you are, which is like kind of like, okay, well, we'll see if it works. But at the end of the day, I think they've done themselves more harm than good in the long term. But in the short term, like Ezra's talking about, like it's exciting. It is fun. It's a great time to be a Colorado Avalanche fan right now. You might be completely 100% correct in 2 to 3 years. And we might all be back on this show going, damn it, Jackie warned us. And maybe it wasn't worth that 2 series is in 2025 or 3 series. But if it's a cup for me, it's worth it. Period.
I mean, I get it. Enjoy what you can. If you're enjoying right now, then enjoy it. Like, I get it. Well, but even the Landy thing, it's not about like, oh, what's going to happen 3 years from now. Like, you don't know what's going to happen next week with Landy. I'm just saying.
True.
Right, but if the whole leadership group is like, let's get them out there, let's get him out there, let's fuck with Dallas. Oh, sorry, swearing. Hey, let's mess with Dallas.
I already did it.
Okay, then I'm game for that. Bednar and McKinnon are like chuckling about how DeBoer is going to be. If that gives the guys the feeling that they have an edge, great.
But then they didn't win.
No,
so
they need to win. But,
good job.
But I'm all good with them doing what they think will help them win. Fair. I would love it to actually help them win, and I think it will. Ultimately, yeah, I'm all good with all that.
That makes sense to me. Like, I'm with you. That's why I said it was just kind of like cat and mouse. Like, it's funny and it's fun if you win. If you don't, then it just looks like you're focused on weird things and not on the task at hand. I don't think that that's the case. I think the Avalanche and the Dallas. I titled this episode "Prize Fighting" because yesterday was like, I do think we got a look at probably 2 of the best 4 teams in the NHL playing each other in the first round. That was really, really good, hard, tough-nosed playoff hockey. I told my brother earlier today that it felt like they were playing conference final hockey. And I stand by that today. And Brendan, in terms of the impact that Landeskog might have on the roster, that's one thing. But tell me from your perspective, what is his story? How has his story impacted you personally? As I know you're a person who's dealt with injuries in the past, and is this something that you can call on as a source of inspiration? And do you think others are doing the same right now?
Well, I can say that it wants to make me get back on the ice. Whether I have time to be getting back on the ice is a different story.
Yeah.
And whether I'm physically able, that's also a different story. I would imagine that it is probably encouraging some players and some other people to get back on the ice, but it's a matter of your physical ability and whether you can. I've kind of accepted the fact that I may never play hockey ever again. So that's my issue with the back and everything. So it is what it is. So
yeah. So at least now you can look to Gabe and say, well, at least Gabe's still playing, you know?
well, at least he's trying.
Yeah.
He's got the physical means or the financial means to actually try and do all this, where I don't have the financial means to go through years of training and things like that and rehab to try and get my back to where it needs to.
Yeah, but on the flip side of that coin is he also has the financial freedom to take 2 weeks off and never play again. So it's like it is interesting. I did want to hear kind of where your headspace was with the Landeskog return. I think, folks, that he's coming back tomorrow. I had a gut feeling leading into last night's game, and I was wrong, but it started to feel like I was right. And so I'm just gonna, in my mind, joke that they were just waiting for someone like me to go on X and be like, is Landy playing today? And they're like, all right, cool. Release that first press sheet and let's screw with absolutely everyone on earth. And so I'm just excited. I do think like tomorrow will be a big, huge moment in the history of the Colorado Avalanche. And I hope that the result follows suit. Like, understand the assignment, final score, if you hear me out. And then, of course, if Gabe Landeskog is in and playing on that second power play unit, like I might be sprinkling a little bit of American tender on him to have a goal in his first game back. Because, man, what a story that would be. Speaking of stories, we told a lot of them last week in our bold predictions segment, and they're stories because we went over. None of them are true, all fiction, non-fact. Let's start with you, Ezra. Ezra, you said that Erik Johnson would not be on the ice for a goal against. Well, unfortunately, unfortunately, that did not happen. He's currently a -1 right now in the series, which isn't too bad, actually, though.
But there's also one on the power. He also gave up a power play goal in game 1. So
very important one, yeah. Jackie, you had Sam Girard logging an assist, or excuse me, a goal. He did not have a goal, but he did have an assist.
And my Sam played.
Yes, your Sam did play, so I guess that gives you a ding of some sort.
No, it's okay. It's not a full ding.
Look at Evan. Evan's like, you know what? Forget you guys. I had
just give it to me. Just give it to me.
Fine. Evan, you said that Sam Malinsky would play and that he would have 3 points in 2 playoff games. And all I wrote,
he might have. You never know. It's their fault. It's not Evan's fault. It's their fault.
I wrote in the script was Sam no play, Evan. So unfortunately, there's your buzzer.
Did you
Brennan,
really write that? I didn't see that. Hold on.
Yeah, Sam no play, bro.
Oh my god, that's funny.
Brennan, you had Jacob McDonald finishing the regular season, I believe, with 34 goals. So you needed 3 goals from him last week. Unfortunately, he did not do that. He finished the season with that 31 mark that he set the new record with. And then, of course, last but not least is my dumb butt. And I said that Arturi Lehkonen would have 4 points in 2 games. He did get off the schneid, so it sort of worked.
And it was a kick, by the way. It's fine and counted. That was a kick.
Oh, yeah, that was a kick. But I'll say this. I think he kicked it on purpose, but I don't think if he redid that 100 times that he could do again what he did.
The only reason it's Lecky. He has such good hand-eye. Like, it's crazy. Like,
what about foot-eye?
Really look exactly. I think it extends to foot-eye. If you really look at him live, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So one reason is because it's Lehkonen. People are like, how can he do that falling down? It's Lehkonen. Like, he's scored goals completely falling down. Like, that's what he does. I think Avs fans would be mad if they gave Dallas that because they'd be like, it's a kicking motion. It doesn't matter if he's falling. It's a kicking motion.
Yeah. But we'd be mad because we had goal against.
But sometimes you win some, sometimes you lose some. I get the interpretation he was falling, but my official opinion is I think he did that intentionally.
Yeah.
Well, I do want to add a addendum to my bold prediction that Jacob McDonald, right before we came on air, did happen to win the Eddie Shore Award.
Nice.
So, for all you non-AHL fans, the top 3.
I'm not an AHL fan.
Nobody
Come
knows what the
on.
Eddie Shore Award is.
Yeah, come
I don't even know
on.
what that is.
It's for
Yeah,
being
it's
the
like,
best,
come on, Jackie. I figured Jackie may, but
No.
you top three. Yeah,
It's
right. It
being
is
the best Encino man. Is that it?
I think it's the Norris. It's the
it's
AHL
the
Norris,
the
right?
equivalent of the Norris in the AHL.
I think if you would have given me 2 seconds, I would have guessed that, given
Yeah.
what Jacob McDonald
But
played.
who knows? They
Come
come up
on.
with other
Be there.
stuff. It could be like the ultimate humanitarian or whatever, or the community leader award. You never
Yeah,
know.
they have
They have
completely
some
different
random
names down
ones.
there.
I'm a hockey fan, and sometimes I find myself at an AHL game one time, and it was awesome. So
With a credential around your neck.
that's right.
That was
baby.
probably one of the better like AHL games. There wasn't like crazy penalties. There wasn't stupid brawls. There wasn't stupid stoppages. There wasn't wasted time. There wasn't
Oh, I thought
3,000 whistles. Like that was probably like anyone that watched that game. That was kind of like the peak of when it's like watchable. You
Well,
didn't have
Brandon-
to see when it's unwatchable.
Brandon, if you want to drive to Texas to see a hockey game, that's the equivalent of me driving from Pueblo to Loveland to watch the Eagles. So,
No, that's not 14 hours.
yeah, I mean, Texas is a big place, baby. It took me. it took
How long
me
would it take you to get just to the border?
from me.
Yeah.
From Pueblo? Oh, not very long. Not very long from Pueblo. But from Pueblo to Loveland was like a 3.5, almost 4 hour drive, especially if I don't take toll roads. So I don't think I'm going to be hitting a lot of Eagle games unless I'm up in your neck of the woods, brother. That's just point blank period. I
They're
guess I'll have,
hardly in my neck of the woods too.
yeah,
So.
I'll have to get Flow TV or Flow Sports so I can watch them again. But because, man, they were a good team. They were a very good team. I do want to touch real quick. Sarah Hernandez, thank you for tuning in again. You are now one of our frequenters, so thank you so very much. She is volunteering herself for an X because she said that, for a buzzer because she said that Scott Wedgwood would get a start in the first 2 games.
I thought it was a good prediction, though. It was a
Good
good
for
one.
you. Good for you for volunteering yourself there. I do want to give a quick shout out to Anthony Pacino. Anthony, you're a longtime listener. Right on. Thanks for coming. He says, I'd rather this be gamesmanship rather than theatrics for a reality show. I think he's talking about Landeskog's documentary.
That's true. That's a good
an
point.
interesting point.
That's a good point. Yeah.
Anthony Pacino, also a Southern Colorado. He says 2.5 hours maybe to Texas from me. So not too bad. It's closer to Texas. I'm closer to Texas than I am to Loveland, if that's true. So let the record show.
It will definitely be in the documentary.
Yeah, 1,000%.
I didn't even think of that. But
What's
yeah,
that,
that's
the
or not,
Loveland
it'll
games?
definitely be in it.
Yeah. Well, and we got another bold prediction from the crowd, and it's Peterman, another longtime listener, says, bold prediction, Gabe doesn't play in the first round. He plays in the
Wow.
second round. That's a good bold prediction. I'll have to put you down for kind of like a season long, sort of like a playoffs long one for that, because it won't sort out by the end of the week. But I'll
Can
put
I
you
ask
down.
why? Do you like it doesn't
think it
matter
will
for the
sort out
bold
by the end of the week.
prediction? But I'm just curious, is your reason because you think it's just planned that way, or because he's like it's more physical, like he's just not ready, he just decides he can't go or whatever?
Yeah, let us know. Let us know.
Let us know the reason. I'm just curious. That
Follow
doesn't
up,
impact
Peterman.
your bold prediction.
So we got you down. Now let's run the track, bold predictions track, folks. Thank you for tuning in. We have 1,000 live viewers right now. We really appreciate you. On behalf of Ezra Parter, Evan Liu, and Brandon Vogt, and Jackie K, I'm Adrian Hernandez, and this is the Mile High Hockey Lab. We're having a ton of fun. We're talking about games 3 and 4, and we're about to give our bold predictions, which should settle in those games 3 and 4. We might honestly get game 5 in before our next episode 2, depending on how things go. So keep that in mind when you make your bold predictions, to my esteemed panelists, and let's spin that track and think about what we are boldly predicting.
It's a bold strategy, Cotton. Let's see if it pays off for him.
I call that bold talk.
All right, so we got some fan bold predictions, and they have been written down, and you guys will get your buzzer or your ding if, in fact, you earn one of the two. Let's do this like we usually do and start with our leader, Jackie K. Jackie, what you got for us this week?
Okay, well, I'm not sure if I'm going to be on the next show, so I'm going to give you one that might ride a little further than that if need be. I think Coyle will continue to outscore Nelson. So I'll say for the series, however long it lasts, 5 or more games, that Coyle will end with more points than Nelson.
Okay. It feels like that right now. That's for sure.
He's ahead by 1 point, so it's not like an easy call here. You never know, but
I hear you.
You would hope that Nelson scores more, right? Isn't that the point why he's here?
Yeah.
So, but I will go with Coyle is going to continue, and I think for the regular season they finished with the exact same number of points. I think it was 13 each.
Yeah.
So, but I will say that Coyle will continue to outproduce Nelson.
Okay, I got you down. Ezra, what do you got for me this week?
Yeah, I completely agree with that one. I'm going to say that I'm gonna go with Nichushkin power play goal, which doesn't feel bold enough.
It kind of feels bold right now. I don't know.
It does. I mean,
we didn't talk about this as much as I wanted to, and maybe we can right now. But like, I'm not liking what I'm seeing from Nichushkin. Like, it feels like we saw like glimpses of that Nichushkin patented effort and stinginess, like in the overtime period, and then we haven't seen it at all otherwise. And I just don't know if there's a psychological wall that's kind of he's working through. I don't know the circumstances of the location right now of the series. I don't know what really I'm seeing from Nichushkin. I mean, we talked about him being the X factor heading in, and honestly,
I feel
he's
like
been a ghost.
I feel like none of the top 6 forwards really done anything at 5-on-5.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's just him. So that I'd be willing to just kind of give him a little bit more rope, just because like nobody else has done anything really.
That's fair. I'm just like the Avs don't win this series if Nichushkin doesn't play better. Or at least produce more. That's my opinion.
Yeah.
No, the top 6 will definitely needs 5-on-5 goals if they want to win this series.
Yeah. Okay. So I like that, Ezra. You got a Nichushkin power play goal. Let's hope that spurs on a little bit of mojo. Evan, what do you got?
I'm battling 2 in my head right now, so I'm trying to figure out which one I want to go with.
Double down on Malinsky?
No,
give them both to me. I'll give you 2 buzzers.
Oh boy. Okay. Well, yeah, that's probably a given. Charlie Coyle, up until last night's game, I believe was on an 8-game point streak.
Yeah.
And I'll be more specific than Jackie's was. I think Coyle will get 3 points in this homestand. Okay. I could see that being a possibility. And perhaps those 3 points come with an Avalanche hat trick.
Oh, an Avalanche hat trick. I'll give you
not Coyle hat trick, just an Avalanche hat trick.
Yeah.
Again, I'm saying Avalanche. I'm not saying like there will be a shutout or a hat trick. An Avalanche.
Yeah. I'm not going to say what's currently rolling through my mind, because the universe has a tendency to hear what I am not asking for and give me specifically that. So
I'm hearing it. Don't say it.
You're hearing it out in the ether, aren't you, Ezra?
I know. I kind of pulled an 8-0 special here.
Yeah. There's another 8-0 special that we don't get to do anymore. So I think Ezra knows which one I'm talking about. Brandon, what you got for me this week?
This may not be the case by the time. Probably not by the time we do the next show. Colorado Eagles end up playing Abbotsford and win 3-1.
Nice. I like it. All right. We got our weekly Eagles bold prediction from Mr. Brennan. So to recap, I got a Nichushkin power play goal for Ezra. I got a Charlie Coyle will continue to outscore Brock Nelson 5 or more games from Jackie. And an extra credit for Jackie, by the way, is something we're keeping an eye on, which is Kucherov to win the Hart Trophy. Evan, you have Charlie Coyle has 3 points in 2 home games for the Avs, and or the Avalanche have a hat trick. And Brennan, I got you down for that Eagles play Abbotsford and win 3 of 4 to win the series there. And Brendan, I also still have you down for Landeskog coming back with 15 goals. You might as well.
That was regular season, so give me my thing. Just
if he
give it to
scores
me now.
15 goals,
that's why I said you might as well just turn that into a Conn Smythe season-long bold prediction.
why take the buzzer? It's still possible.
Deal there, baby. I'm not giving it to you yet. I'm not.
He's already missed 2 games. They would have to go to the Stanley Cup for him to get 15 goals.
Hey, I've come back from the buzzer multiple times.
You have.
You can't give it up when it's still possible.
You never know,
being
brother.
Realistic.
Well, of course.
Well, speaking of, dude, this is bold predictions, not realistic predictions.
Exactly.
Come on.
I wouldn't take that buzzer if it was me. Nope.
No. I love
Evan
it.
went for Malinsky 3 points. Come on.
Yeah.
Okay, we didn't need to do that.
Evan,
he will
honestly,
though. Now because you won't bet on it, he will.
Yeah.
Well, fine. Keep it there, but yeah.
I'm just I'm proud of you guys, but I'm also incredibly shocked that I have the opportunity to make this bold prediction right now. But my bold prediction is that Gabe Landeskog comes back and that he's involved in the game-winning goal for the Avalanche in Game 3, whether it be an assist, secondary, or the goal itself. That's.
What about a healthy screen? Does that count?
Does it work? Does it work in the other way if he's involved like Miles Wood?
Oh no.
It works the other way, but not in a fun way at all.
I'm curious now that we've brought that back up. A lot of the internet has been saying Miles Wood should never play another game for Colorado.
That's
wild,
media.
right? What do you guys think?
That's just social media after
Bednar said.
Second that.
I mean, Bednar said in the post game, which Bednar's not typically like openly critical of his own players, but he said that up until that last play, that Miles Wood was having a great game.
I would disagree with that.
Yeah, I mean that's a lie. But is he jettisoned to the moon after this game? I don't think that's fair.
And it's also probably partially because he hadn't had a chance to actually sit down with Miles yet and go over a breakdown of the game at that point, because he's given that kind of response before. He's like, I'm not going to go over this without telling my player first.
Well, it's fine. I didn't need him to get thrown under the bus or ridiculed for it. We know what happened, so it's fine. But the whole he was outstanding is you might want to check your analytic report before you say that. He had 10% expected goals. He's on the ice for 3 goals against, not necessarily all his bad. I think Kivi Ranta was a little bit more culpable individually, but I get what he likes about him. He drew a penalty, we'll give him that. Mm-hmm. And he plays with energy, he plays with that speed, that tenacity. It's just putting it together into real hockeyness is his problem for hockeyness in the positive is a problem for Wood. But the thing is, if you want him fired up into the sun, explain how that's going to happen. And I don't want to hear, just some stupid GM's going to trade for him. And I don't want to hear, he's just going to get buried in the AHL for 4 years. No, that's not going to happen. So if you want to fire him into the sun,
with a late round pick, it's doable, but it's not realistic. I mean, it's doable. I'm not saying they should do that, but
I mean.
Nobody is going to take that much term. I get GMs are stupid, but they need real asset. Are you going to give Gulayev to get rid of Wood? That's what it's going to take, not a 7th round pick.
Detroit seems to be doing their best to do everything no one should. So you never know. But
which is shocking because Yzerman's usually doing the opposite.
Well, did you see Dylan Larkin pretty much was like, what you guys did at the trade deadline completely crushed us. That's me paraphrasing, but that's basically what he said in his.
I don't remember who they traded away.
And then Vancouver's GM is going out talking about the Hughes. I'm
not really sure what he's getting at with that. You can't take it for face value.
I know.
I do have.
Here's the point. Here's the overall bearing point. It could be much worse, Avalanche fans. It is one game. Chill out. You're coming home with a series split. It is
no, Jackie.
in the grand
being a Detroit Red Wings fan is worse than being a Colorado Avalanche fan right now. There's no well.
I'd be careful with hold my beer statements.
I mean,
as of right now, today, like this,
I can at least hold it. Yeah, exactly. I can at least hold it until next season. But no, the Avalanche are going to be in a better place next year too than the Detroit Red Wings. So,
yeah, we have a perennial Stanley Cup contender, guys. It's good.
Okay.
The Detroit Red Wings haven't been to the playoffs in 10 years.
Okay, I'm gonna be the sourpuss here. So hypothetically, if Landeskog comes back, you have to make room cap wise. So you have to get rid of people.
Well, you have people on expiring contracts, so yeah.
But that is that $7 million worth.
Well,
I think right now Nelson's not coming back unless he pulls a miracle. You're not paying for him. So I think Coyle's going to have to be your 2C. You're not going to be able to pay anybody.
Nope.
And people have liked his contributions so far, so maybe it's workable. But
Miles
I think
Wood
that's
for
the reality
JT
you're looking at.
Straight up.
Yeah, and then you got Tucker
words right out of my
Bullman,
mouth,
who's his contract's rolling off, so you can't utilize his LTIR anymore.
If Landy's playing, you don't want to be an LTIR. You're going to want to accrue cap space all season.
So I have a follow-up from Anthony Pacino as it pertains to his bold prediction with Landy not playing in the first round. And he says, because the series needs to be won and Landy isn't NHL playoff ready, if they had a 2-game lead heading back home, then they could experiment. Now can't afford to lose a home game with the series tied. I think that there's credence to that conversation. But if he's good to go,
I'd be concerned if they were that concerned about giving them the best chance to win.
And then Anthony completely ruined his credibility because he said bold predictions. If the Avs don't make it out of the first round, Bednar will be fired and they'll give the head coach of DU the Avs job.
That's a bold one. I think Bednar has a lot of rope left, and you have to remember how cheap this organization is, and they're not going to pay Carl what he's holding out for.
Love you,
I
Anthony.
think if he leaves, he goes to the Rangers because I think he's holding out for an opportunity like that.
No, you know who's going to get the job? Brad Marchand.
I knew it.
Hey,
all right. We went an hour and 1 minute. An hour and 1 minute without the Brad Marchand self drop, and we still got it. Darn it!
Why did I just know that was going to happen?
It wasn't even a thing until after he was traded. Like we weren't even pining for him like Crosby.
Yeah. Well, there are 1,300 of you watching live right now. Thank you so very much. Please head on over to our Spotify and Apple Podcast catalog. I believe we are on some other ones. If I haven't listed them, just give us a look and you'll probably see us there. The Mile High Hockey Lab. This is our 102nd edition that I've titled Prize Fighting because that is what the Avalanche and the Dallas Stars are doing right now in the first round of this NHL playoff series. Please head on over to our website, milehighhockey.com. We have a bunch of written material there. We do a preview for every game. We do an open thread for every game. And we've already gone through position previews, and we will do some lab follow-ups over there. So please go be a part of the community. That's the best part. You log in, you set up your account, and you can contribute in the comments. We usually have hundreds of comments in those open threads, and they're a lot of fun to sift through when the game is settled. So we really appreciate you folks. Unless I missed something, are you guys good to go? We're good? Okay, cool. So on behalf of Ezra Parter, Evan Liu, Brennan Vogt, and of course our managing editor, Jackie K, my name is Adrian Hernandez, and this has been the Mile High Hockey Lab. Until next time when the Avs are now up 3-1 in the series, go Avs. Yeah, Ezra, we're not.
Thank you for tuning into the Mile High Hockey Lab.